Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Douglas Conservation Committee meeting, date March 18th, 2024. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast by local access programming and with remote participation available as provided on our agenda. Is there anyone here tonight recording? None being said, I hereby call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Members in attendance are, roll call.
Mark Mungem here.
Jim Thorne here.
Mike Rocco here.
Joe Fitzpatrick here. Katie Grace is excused. Okay, first item on the agenda. We are going to take a little bit out of order. I want to move the minutes to the end of the meeting. Okay, all in favor? Yeah.
No problem.
Okay, let's go to item 3, the bylaw.
C.
3.
3, excuse me.
Okay, no person, item 3, section 13, enforcement. No person shall remove, fill, dredge, build upon, degrade, otherwise alter resource areas protection by this bylaw, or cause suffer or allowance for such activity, or leave in place unauthorized fill, or otherwise fail to restore, illegally alter land to its original condition, or fail to comply with permit or enforcement orders issued pursuant to this bylaw. Conservation Commission, its agent, officers, employees shall have authority to enter upon private-owned land for the purpose of performing their duties under this bylaw, and may make or cause to be made such examinations, surveys, sampling as the Commission deems necessary, subject to the Constitution and the bylaws of the United States and the Commonwealth. The Commission shall have the authority to enforce this bylaws, regulations, and permits issued thereunder by letters, phone calls, electronic communication, and other informal methods. Violation notices, non-criminal citations under General Law, Chapter 40, Section 21D, and civil criminal actions. Any person who violates provisions of the bylaw may be ordered to restore the property to its original condition and make other actions deemed necessary to remedy any such violations, may be fined or both. Upon the request of the Commission, the Selected Board, Town Council shall make legal action for enforcement under civil law upon request of the Commission. The Chief of Police shall take legal action and enforce under the criminal law. Municipal boards and officers, including any police officers or other officers having police powers, shall have authority to assist the Commission in enforcement. Any person who violates any provision of this bylaw or regulation, permits, or administrative order issued thereunder shall be punishable by a fine of not more than $300 a day or portion thereof during the violation continue, or unauthorized fill or other alterations remain in place, shall constitute a separate offense, and each provision of the bylaw, regulations, permits, administrative orders, violations shall constitute a separate offense. As an alternative to criminal prosecution in specific cases, the Commission may issue citations with specific penalties pertaining to the non-criminal disposition set forth in General Law, Chapter 40, Section 21D, which has been adopted by the town in Article 8, Section 13 of the General Bylaws. So we're increasing the fines, correct?
Yes, but it's not just that. This whole section is being rewritten.
Okay.
Okay, so the original Section 13 of the bylaw was shorter, much shorter, and I'll read that. So that's what Joe just read is what's proposed. The current reading of the bylaw goes like this. Any person who violates any provision of this bylaw or of any condition or permit issued pursuant to it shall be punished by a fine of not more than $200. Each day or a portion thereof during which a violation continues shall constitute a separate offense. If more than one, each condition violated shall constitute a separate offense. This bylaw may be enforced pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 21D, by a town police officer or other officer having police powers. Upon request of the commission, the Board of Selectmen and Town Council shall take such legal action as may be necessary to enforce this bylaw and permits issued pursuant to it. So what the chair just read was verbatim from the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commission's model bylaw. So this is the wording that he just read is what the MACC recommends. So basically the amendment that is being proposed for the warrant for town meeting is what the MACC bylaw recommends the wording to be, which is more, I think, comprehensive than what's in the bylaw right now. And I guess a big thing is that it's proposed to up it from $200 a day to $300 a day, which is the maximum that can be issued per day under Section 21-day non-criminal disposition.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is here for the commission's, and I guess the public's discussion as to whether or not you're in favor of recommending this to go to town meeting for a vote.
Anything, Mark?
Well, I would say that if it follows the MACC model bylaw, then that's what we should try to do. So I'm in favor of it.
I'm also in favor.
Mike?
In favor.
Anything from the floor? Anybody have any questions on it? Anybody listening in on Zoom? Is there anything from Zoom? No, nothing? Yep.
Phyllis Charpentier, Manchoc Pond Foundation. I did want to point out, we would support it. Where the lake is in two towns, it's nice to have consistency, because people on Manchoc Pond think they're from Manchoc Pond, not so much Douglas or Sutton. So having the two towns have similar, with the fines, 300, that's something we would support.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else? Want to vote on it?
Yeah.
Make a motion to send this to the town meeting to get voted on.
We have a motion to send it to town meeting,
Second.
second by Mike. All in favor?
Mark Mungem, aye.
Jim Foran, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Okay.
Okay. Next, Article 12, construction. I'm not reading all this, am I?
No, I'd just say that there's a stormwater bylaw being proposed. Yeah.
This is Article 12, construction and post-construction of stormwater management bylaw.
Right.
Brandon, you want to take it from there?
Well, this is a new bylaw being proposed that will, I have my own questions about it, but it's being proposed for stormwater, wherever it may be in the town. One of the things that I noticed is that it's not specific to just wetlands jurisdiction that the Concom is usually responsible for, but it's for the entire town, whether you're in a upland area, 1,000 feet from a wetland, or if you're right next to the wetland. And the Conservation Commission is slated to be the town board responsible for the administration and enforcement of this bylaw. So whenever there's, stormwater issues, something that would have to comply with the stormwater standards, or, enforcement or the upkeep of stormwater systems, it would come to the Conservation Commission.
That's consistent with other towns, too.
Well, to a certain degree, what I'm used to is usually when there's new construction and you have to go through site plan review with planning board, it doesn't always come to Concom because it might be in an area that is not near any wetlands. And the planning board usually oversees, the review of the stormwater. They usually hire their own 53G peer review consultant, and it goes through, site plan review with them. And oftentimes, even when it's in wetlands jurisdiction, even though the stormwater standards are in the wetland regulations for the state, because it's being reviewed concurrently by the planning board for site plan review, very often the Concom, what they do is say, well, planning board's already reviewed it. They're doing the same review as the Concom would do. So whatever they say, we'll go with. That's a very common theme that I find. I'm not sure how that would work now under this bylaw, because if the Conservation Commission becomes the caretaker, let's call it, of this bylaw, then I suppose that with this site plan review that has to go to planning board, they would also have to come to the Conservation Commission, even if you're not in a jurisdictional area. Tell me if I'm crazy.
No, that's the way I'm hearing it.
Right, so that's something to discuss. That was a big question for me. I mean, I have no personal issues handling, all of that. I think that the Concom would have to hire out a 53G peer review consultant, but it is what it is. Besides that, I had one other comment about the wording in the bylaw, or one of the definition sections, but that was about it. So that, my big comment has to do with jurisdiction and what projects would the Concom be reviewing, whether it's in wetlands jurisdiction or not, and it sounds like it's going to be throughout the town no matter where it is, so we're going to be getting more applications. That's what it sounds like.
If we were to approve this.
If you were to approve it, right.
Now, would the planning board have to alter their requirements?
Very, very good question. Which I don't have the answer for at this time. This is like the start of the discussion.
When do we have to give them an answer on this?
I don't even know. I don't,
So
unfortunately.
we could table this till next meeting?
You could, unless you have something else you want to discuss, if you want to go to the,
Well, I mean, I want to give the other members a chance to read this thing.
yeah,
First time I've seen it.
yeah.
I think that'd be the right thing, so they can go through it and kind of get a handle of what's going on.
Absolutely.
Is there anything from the floor? Yes.
Good evening, Commissioners. Lisa Mozinski, 60 Oak Street. I was also at the, I think it was, I can't remember, Planning Board or the Board of Selectmen, and they are looking at putting this on the warrant for the town meeting, and so I think they're going to close the warrant on the 26th or something like that. So that might be a factor in moving this forward. But I wanted to just, there's some typos in here, and I'm happy to make a copy and send that over. But under definitions, which is section B, no, I'm sorry, section 3, definitions, under I,
Municipal separate storm sewer system.
yes, please. So it cites, among others, piped storm drain, pumping facility, and then I would like to add infiltration before retention, infiltration, comma, retention, and detention basin. Because of our recent experience. So I would like to see that included. And then, under section 6, applicability and exemptions. So under B, exemptions, and I'm in favor of this in general. I don't know jurisdiction-wise what goes where, but number 1 says normal maintenance and improvement of land and agricultural use as defined by the Wetlands Protection Act, Regulation 310, CMR 10.04 as amended. So my question is, if there's a piece of property under Chapter 61 protection, and because of this sort of hybrid solar chapter arrangement, I want to make sure that that can't be exempted, because it's still under chapter protection as agriculture. So I'm not sure how the wording would go, but I feel like that's a
Yeah.
that's a bit of a hole that we need to plug.
Yeah, this has been brought to my attention. So I have a lot of experience with Section 10.04, the wetlands regulations in agriculture. And Chapter 61 is separate from that section. Chapter 61 is a tax incentive program,
Right.
right? So it's not associated with land, how do they right here? Normal maintenance and improvement of land and agricultural use, which is, in order to be agricultural use, you have to be presently and primarily using the land for agriculture. And it has to be for-profit agriculture.
Okay.
So a gentleman's farm, where you just raising stuff for yourself, does not count as agriculture under that section. But it's still a very good question. I can understand where you're coming from, because I'm still trying to wrap my head around this dual-use situation, a statute with solar. Wait, are you familiar with this, Jim? So as an incentive for the solar farms, they're trying to have some kind of agriculture underneath the solar arrays, whether it be row crops or sheep or something, right? So does that mean that the land where the solar panels are can also be considered agriculture? And if so, would the stormwater requirements therefore be exempted under this bylaw? So I think that's a very poignant question that I don't think we're going to have the answer to before the 26th. Or if you do, if you are really concerned about that, which I think you should be, maybe you create an addendum or an edit to that section to exempt dual-use solar, if that's what it sounds like, that's where you might want to go. Right, because if you have sheep, and then you're sharing the sheep, and then you're selling the wool in the same area that you also have the solar, does that now make that agricultural land under 10.04? It's a really weird situation, because we've never had solar and agriculture in the same place, well, at the same place in the same time, except for cranberry bogs. Cranberry bogs have been exempted. You can have solar over active cranberry bogs, but we don't have that issue here in Douglas. So that's a good question.
Well, and answered by the 26th.
You can always say, no, we're not ready.
Is it possible
I
to
don't-
ask
don't
town
recommend
council?
What's
Is
that?
it possible to ask town council for an opinion, for,
Well, the problem is that we haven't even had a chance to read this thing in there,
oh, I'm sorry.
you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it's the 26th, it's like you haven't had a chance to even look at it.
The first
And I don't
time
like
that
to
I
sign
saw
for something
this
that I don't know what's in there.
I respect that.
was last week,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
It's not baked yet.
I would say we're not ready.
Okay. I got another one, too.
I don't know what the board feels, but I think
I was going to suggest and say that I couldn't make a decision on anything here tonight, because that's the first time I'm seeing it. I
Yeah,
can't,
that's what I'm saying. There's too many questions on it already,
Right.
so.
They make in the definition section, they have a definition for what I presume is one of the qualified professionals to deal with this, and it's called a Certified Professional in Erosion and Sediment Control, which is perfectly valid. However, that's kind of getting to be an antiquated, they call it a CPESC. And that is still a valid certification that's out there. And I'm going to put it up on the screen. Here, it's given by a organization called EnviroCert, CPESC, and I am a CPESC. I've had it for 21 years now. But in that time, they also created a new one called a CESWI, which is Certified Erosion, Sediment, and Stormwater Inspector. And a lot more people have the CESWI certification now than the CPESC certification. They basically do the same things. They inspect stormwater system, large construction sites, erosion, sediment control. I think the only difference is that the CPESC can do design, whereas the CESWI just reports and makes recommendations. Either way, I think it's still good, and you could probably add the CESWI certification to the definitions section as well. So I would recommend adding that.
Yes.
So I said the 26th is when they were going to put it on the warrant, I believe, but I think you still, as a board, can still discuss it and make a judgment on it before it goes to is voted on at town meeting.
Right, we
Right.
make a
A recommendation.
Recommendation before.
recommendation that we're
Right.
fine with and let it go.
Right.
But again, today's the 18th, at 26th, so we don't decide tonight, nobody's even read this thing, so.
No, I realize that, but I think the board, the selectmen might be going ahead and putting it
Putting it on the warrant.
The warrant anyway.
Right.
So I'm just saying you could continue to refine it so it can be amended on the floor.
Okay,
That's what I'm thinking.
okay,
Okay? But I thank you.
thank you. Anything else? Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be good to have a discussion about it at a second meeting. I mean, personally, what you said about us, Conservation Commission, being the ones to oversee and enforce, I feel awkward about stepping in on planning board and what they're doing with subdivisions. I would think that the subdivisions would still, maybe the stormwater should still fall under their purview because they're already reviewing everything else about that, about the subdivision. Now, other construction, I can see us doing that, but just not subdivisions for some reason, I don't know. It's just a thought.
Like I said, I don't think that we have had adequate time to go through it. Personally, that's my feeling.
Yeah, it says, trying to look where it says, where it actually reads that the Conservation Commission is in charge of this.
Yeah, I saw that.
Authority,
Hi, can anyone from Zoom ask any questions?
Yeah, 1 minute, please.
see.
Okay, thank you.
That's on section 1B, and number 1, establish Douglas Conservation shall be legal authority. On the front page.
Yep. B1.
Oh, yeah, sorry. It's right in front of my face. That's why I didn't see it. I think I saw Mr. Benoit with a hand up.
Someone else? Okay. Can you please give us your name, please, and address?
It's Matt.
Sure. My name is Rosie Sorencio on 65 Canal Street. If it's possible, if there's any way that you guys can share what's being proposed, that's one question. It's a little hard to see all of what's, it's just a little limited. It looks like it's 6 pages here. And then the other is, if this is what's proposed, then how would that apply to private roads, i.e. like Lakeshore Drive?
Yeah, good question. I don't see how this is only limited to public ways.
I'm sorry, Brandon, it was a little hard to hear you. Were you saying that it isn't just limited to public, or does it encompass all types of roads?
My reading of it is that it's not just roads, it's anywhere in town.
Thank you, Brandon. And then how is it possible to get a copy of this other than a public records request? Is it something you guys can drop in the chat for anyone who is viewing here to see a copy of it?
Probably, if I am technically competent enough to do it.
No, you won't be graded, but thank
Okay.
you, Brandon, if that's possible. It's just hard to see or to be part of this remotely.
Okay. Okay, yep. And I see that Mr. Benoit has his hand up.
Yes, Matt?
Hi, good evening, members of
evening.
the commission. Matthew Benoit, Community Development Director. Yeah, the stormwater regulations throughout the Commonwealth have typically been signed to conservation commissions because of its impact on wetlands typically. So when this was originally proposed, I believe it was 2016, it went to the select board with the planning board as the issuing authority. And it never got through the select board and made it to town meeting. So this has since been refined and cleaned up to include the commission as the issuing authority, because it makes far more sense that way.
So that's how I've seen it in other towns too, but
How do we do this?
So after, if the commission accepts or votes to support the general bylaw, the commission then has to adopt its own regulations, which I would propose to you after town meeting for our potential acceptance and adoption. There's far much more meat on the bone, excuse me, for issuance authority and more specific criteria in the rules and the policy of the commission that are on the general bylaw.
Well, I saw that there's a set of regulations to go along with it, Matt. Is that,
Right.
is that on the table now too, or, I mean, it's just the bylaw that would be going to town meeting? but-
Right. Right. When the commission is ready to review the regulations, they would have to hold a public hearing. I just wanted to present it to us for that consideration.
Okay. And I want everybody to know that I figured out how to post the bylaw on the chat, so it's there. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon, so much. We appreciate it.
Did it work?
I'm downloading it now. I'll let you know in 2 minutes if it doesn't. How about that?
For the record, Mr. Chairman, this bylaw has been reviewed and introduced by our stormwater consultant at CDI, Nick Christofori, and also been reviewed by town council. And it's pretty buttoned up, legal-wise, anyway.
okay.
So Matt, I got a question for you. So does that, the question that the commission was asking about with the review, doing site plan review, look at subdivisions, and anytime there's stormwater, even if it's outside wetlands jurisdiction, would it still be coming to the Conservation Commission?
Yes, we would have to adopt a new stormwater permit as
Gotcha,
part of the regulations, yes.
gotcha.
But an order of conditions could serve as a stormwater permit when it's within jurisdiction.
When it's within jurisdiction, gotcha.
So if somebody is proposing a subdivision, do they go before the planning board and get their approval and then come to the Conservation Commission to get a stormwater permit? Or how will that work in terms of timing?
I would anticipate a concurrent filing for that.
So I would imagine the planning board would be reviewing more like zoning-related stuff, whereas the Conservation Commission would focus in on the stormwater-related stuff. That sound right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. This planning board would work on the roadway standards and the dimensions of the lots, and the zoning, that's right. And the peer review likely would include stormwater review, which would be shared with the commission as part of the stormwater permit.
And does this detail when the stormwater review kicks in? Is there a certain area of disturbance that requires it, or a certain number of lots? Because I know we have issues with approval not required lots, and how many of them, and when a stormwater is required?
That the threshold is 1 acre, 1 acre of disturbance.
Not necessarily how many lots, as is currently in the stormwater standards and under the Wetlands Protection Act, where you go over 4 lots, it de facto requires stormwater review regardless of how much land is being disturbed.
Right, yeah, that's correct. This would not be, but this could be on a per lot basis, given, well, a subdivision and its roadway would be its one stormwater permit, and then the individual lots upon release would have to apply for their individual stormwater permit.
Right, but would that be based on total amount of disturbance of land, regardless of the number of lots, or is it the number of lots regardless of the amount of land disturbed?
It's the disturbance of land is 1 acre.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if they're disturbing less than 1 acre, even though there's a stormwater system proposed, then the Concom wouldn't be reviewing it?
The Concom would review it, yes.
Would.
Yes,
What I just heard, though, was that 1 acre was the threshold.
right.
But if,
Yes, if the lot was less than 1 acre and the disturbance, yeah, right. So it's the disturbed area. It's not necessarily the lot itself in the entirety of the lot. It's the disturbance area.
right, so let's say they were disturbing a half an acre, but a stormwater management system was still required, then it sounds like they wouldn't be meeting the threshold to have to receive a stormwater permit from the Concom.
Correct.
Okay. That's good clarification. Somebody in the audience?
Yes.
Rebecca Foss, 81 Old Farm Road. If I
Can you
understand what you're
come up here,
saying
Rebecca?
correctly, you wouldn't
Rebecca?
need a-
Rebecca, could you just come up, because they can't hear you?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Rebecca Kloss, 81 Old Farm Road. If I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, if the disturbance wasn't more than 1 acre, they wouldn't need a permit. But it kind of doesn't matter, because you still need to be practicing, best practices are in the bylaws of the town. As far as, it doesn't matter whether the lot is 1/4 of an acre, half an acre, or 1 acre, you still have to be using best practices as far as runoff and water.
Right, it just wouldn't require a pre-construction review by the Conservation Commission.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know who's reviewing it right now. That's another whole conversation.
I think it's triggered by whether or not it needs site plan review by the planning board, or if there's an application permit here with the Conservation Commission and it meets the thresholds here for review. Which is, for Conservation Commissions, any commercial or industrial project that would fall under those categories, and any residential project in which there's more than 4 lots proposed. So it has to be a minimum of 5 lots.
From what I've seen, it sounds like you're the only person who has the qualifications to actually review that within the town at this point.
To a certain degree.
Well, you just said you had the letters and the certificates.
Well, I have the
and I
acronyms
don't think
after my...
anybody else does.
I have the acronyms, right. However, the stormwater review does require a bit of civil site design. So that would require, so there's a professional engineer doing these reports and plans that would require another professional engineer to review them, which I am not, so.
Any other questions? Anybody?
Yes, I'm sorry, Rosie Sternsione over on Zoom. Question for you, how would this work then for any of those that are currently under an enforcement order, i.e. like Lakeshore Drive that has stormwater issues, and obviously this hasn't been passed, what would be the board's position on the matter?
Good question. Shall I take a shot at
Yeah,
it?
you take a shot at it. I mean, it's not voted in yet until it does.
I'm going to try to employ logic here, see how it goes. If there was no previous permit or application, then it would mean that it's subject to review. That's one way of thinking about it. Second way of thinking about it is whether or not the practice has actually been constructed and is in use. That's another way of thinking about it. And I'm sure there's problems with either, there's all kinds of ways to split that up and find loopholes and with each, with each path, but those are the two paths of logic I'm thinking about.
Right, if we have something right now we're working with, and we have the current conditions that we're asking them to meet, then I think that they gotta fulfill that. And this here comes in, we can't say, oh, by the way, now you gotta do this too. You know what I'm saying? It's,
Like
so if they're under the old order of conditions, and they're meeting that, you let them fulfill that out. Now, if there's something that comes up after that, then they would be subject to whatever is voted.
If they were adding to it, right?
Right, then they would be subject to whatever's voted in.
Right, but you're thinking about an old permit.
Right.
Now, let's say there was no permit, and that's, honestly, it's going to be a lot of the road drainage system in this town that was built decades and decades and decades ago, right? There's going to be no record of it anywhere. Does that mean you now go to like the highway department and say, hey, you need a stormwater permit for this thing that was built in the 1930s?
Well,
It's now
I think
discharged,
we gotta get a little bit of clarification on that, how they planned on that to be handled.
right. And Mr. Benoit just put his video back on.
Yes,
Sure, so the permit would apply to only new permits once the bylaw is approved. It would be anything from then on forward. It can't be retroactively introduced to a project that's already underway.
That's another line of logic.
right. That's what I was alluding to, that,
So I'm sorry, so for clarification then, if there's a current enforcement order that are existing concerns with stormwater management, and of course there have been permits that have already been pulled, building permits, then the town is unable to go back retroactively. I mean, this law hasn't passed, but their position is one in such that they still cannot rectify a scenario at, let's say, Lakeshore Drive as it relates to stormwater management, because all the other building permits have already been pulled.
well, you couldn't retroactive, you adopt a new bylaw, you can't retroactive and say, now everybody's got to adhere to it. I don't think that's
Right.
right.
So in this scenario where, and so this would then effectively be adopted at town meeting. But if there's an existing current issue with stormwater on Lakeshore Drive, that would not get rectified. Or if it got resolved in 2 weeks without good engineering, that would theoretically be outlined in your new stormwater, say, proposal. It can technically slip under the radar.
Well, it's not slipping under the radar if they've already been given a order and they satisfied it, and that should be the end of it. If there's another incident down there, then that would come under the new bylaw. But to tell them that we give them order or conditions to fix it, and then this here passes and we come out, we got another whole list for them, I don't think that's right. so,
Right, at the same time, there's no order of conditions for the stormwater system on Lake Shore Drive,
right.
right? So that's an issue. But let's say there's problems with it,
Okay.
right, in the future. Because they're building infrastructure right now that's outside of Concom's jurisdiction for wetlands. All right, let's just presume everything's working just fine, right? So therefore, they don't need to come in for a permit. But then we find out there's an issue.
Then they would have to.
Then they would have to-
They would have to come in under what bylaws in effect at that time.
Right. If the stormwater bylaw is in effect at that time.
Right.
Right, that makes sense to me.
Answer your question?
Thank you, everyone. I guess it would be interesting to see how the next Concom, and I don't want to obviously belabor the point, but I know Mr. Moran, who's been on here multiple times, kept saying or trying to advocate for stormwater valuations, right, in the report. Hopefully, this board will consider that before they make any decisions on Lake Shore Drive. I'd hate to see all those individuals in the HOA have to pay for something that theoretically a system that may fail.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else on Zoom? Okay. Mark?
Nothing more at this time.
Jim?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Tell me to,
So what's the final disposition of the board on this?
what's the date that you can make any kind of corrections to this?
When it's town meeting,
Up to the,
right up to the town
right
meeting.
up to town meeting?
Yeah, so it's going on the warrant, but you have time. Yep. And does Douglas allow on-the-fly amendments during town meeting? So
Yes.
that can always be done as well.
Mr. Chairman, it would have to be an on-the-floor amendment made by the commission in the form of a letter. But yes, that is possible.
Okay.
I said on the fly, I meant on the floor, sorry.
Same thing, same difference. Almost.
All right, do we have a motion either to accept it with the amendments or reject it?
No, I'd like to read it still, so I'm not, you
I
know,
suppose it can stay on the agenda.
I'd put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
All right,
Okay.
we have a motion?
I'll move, is it like a continuance?
Yeah, just-
No, we really not. We just-
You don't
I-
even need to vote to keep it
No.
on the agenda. Well, I'll just tell Jen to keep it on the agenda, as an agenda item.
Okay, we're going to keep it on there so we have a chance to read, the members have a chance to read through this thing and get some of the answers and some of the corrections to it. Okay, so on the next meeting.
April
is
1st.
April 1st. You sure?
Yes.
April Fool's Day?
Yep, it is. I double checked.
Okay. Next item. All right. Order of condition extension for 6 Ledgestone Road.
Hi,
Hi,
Maria Asacker, 6 Ledgestone Road.
just pull it a little close, I think.
Testing. Okay.
That's better.
Good evening, members of the board. Maria Asacker, 6 Ledgestone Road. Here to request an extension to my order of conditions. When I purchased the land, it was February of 2021, and due to COVID delays over the course of the next 2.5 years, I didn't get my occupancy until May of last year. We moved in. This year, I'd like to do some basic landscaping, and my order of conditions is going to expire in 2 months, so I need a little more time.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, no problem.
Mike, good?
Okay.
Anybody from the floor have any questions? Brendan?
No.
Anybody on Zoom? Okay, let's do a vote. We get a motion?
You can extend for a 1, 2, or 3-year period. How many you think you need?
I'm just looking to do like a shed, a basic fence, and some pavers for a
We need a
walkway.
year, 2 years, 3 years?
I'd like to think I could do it in a year, but I thought I could build a house in a year. I don't know. I don't know what to expect anymore. I defer to your expertise. What do you suggest?
You're doing a shed and some pavers?
Are those part of your plan? Are those part
No,
of
I
the
have
notes
to
of
have,
intent?
it's not on the plan yet. I have to have that drawn up and then come back for approval.
I'd say a year, and then if it needed, another year.
But so that's just for the landscaping?
Exactly. A shed, a fence, and a backyard fence, and then like a patio stone thing. Basic.
Having that drawn up now?
Once I get this extension, then I will have it drawn up, and then you'll see me again for approving the plan.
Okay.
Is that considered an extension, though, from?
Well, it sounds like what she wants to do is get an extension and then either come in, and then probably come in with a request for a minor field change or a formal amendment to the plan. And it's one way of doing it.
Okay.
I'll move that we provide, or we grant a 1-year extension on the order of conditions for 6 Ledgestone Road, DEP number 1431021.
I'll second that.
Vote, please.
Mark Mungem, aye.
Jim Foreign, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Set.
Thank you.
So what day is that?
So I'll look it up for you.
The order of conditions were issued 5/24/21.
Yeah, so, let me see here. 24, so it's going to be good to 5/24/25.
Okay, next is 55 Perry Street, possible emergency certificate for failing culvert. 6.
Right. So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is something that was brought to my attention by the Board of Selectmen. And the folks at this house have a culvert underneath their driveway. And let me bring it up on screen. And the issue is that the structural integrity of the driveway is in question. They've done some minor repairs just so they could get their cars over it. But they are not bringing anything larger than a, regular, car or truck. They have oil delivered to the house, and right now they're afraid to have the oil truck go over it for fear of it sinking, like a sinkhole. So the gentleman who owns the property is getting oil gallon by gallon and bringing it back in his car to fill up his oil tank. So,
good.
No, that's why I recommended hearing this as an emergency. He's got plywood over, where the pipe is, and what they want to do, I asked him, I said, well, what do you want to do? He said, all we want to do is replace the pipe. We don't want to expand the width of the driveway at all. At the same time, you could put a correctly sized culvert in there. So I would recommend, here's what I recommend. They've got a pretty dire situation here. I recommend approving the emergency certificate, which gives them 30 days in which to do the work. And then what I would do is I would have them come back with an RDA, or require an RDA within, I don't know, let's say 90 days of the finish of, or 120 days, something like your choice, with an RDA to do the work more formally, and the commission can look at it a little deeper.
Okay. Go with that, Mark?
Do they know that they have 30 days to do the work? And they're limited to 30 days to do the work?
They, I don't think that the owner, I haven't talked to the owners, I've talked to the chair of the Board of Selectmen about it.
I just don't want us to say, you have 30 days, and they haven't done a thing about looking for a contractor or know what size pipe they even need to replace it with and all that.
Good point.
But if it's
And I
needed,
don't know what their, I don't know what their
Well, we
schedule
can
is.
do it with 30, if they got to get an extension on it, we can grant them extensions, right?
Or could you just do a 45?
Can't, the emergency, by the state, you're
By the state,
limited to
it's
30
30.
days. Yeah.
But can you give them extensions on it?
Good question. I've never had to do an extension on a certificate. Let me look. I suppose while I'm doing that, you could talk about, you could, not retroactive, but you could set a date certain that it goes into effect. It's not like it has to go into effect today. You could
right,
say,
30 days could start.
you
right?
could, 30 days could start whatever day that you want it to start.
Let's just worry about that then.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mike, you good? Anybody from the audience? Is there anybody from Zoom? You entertain a motion?
I move that we issue a 30-day emergency certificate to correct a failing culvert at 55 Perry Street, which goes into effect on April 1st. Does that sound all right? So that gives them till the end of April?
Yeah, why not? Yeah. And here's the thing, is that if this expires and they still, the contractor isn't ready on it by that time, you could issue a second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and second to issue the emergency certificate for 55 Perry Street. Vote, please.
Mark Mungem, aye.
Jim Foran, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
And if worse comes to worse, and let's say the contract is ready to go on May 2nd, right? And you don't have your first meeting until a week later, it only takes one commissioner or the agent to sign an emergency cert.
Okay.
Why was this good? With this?
No, not with this one. That's Mike.
That's different, okay.
There was a few
Potentially
to sign
different
for the previous one.
Okay, next we have CRG 105, 123 Gilboa Street, Uxbridge Enforcement Order, possible vote. Number 7.
I see the Mitch Roush is online, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. This is the one from, this is Uxbridge.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman, an update since the last meeting. The Uxbridge Conservation Commission ratified an enforcement order against CRG, requiring them to file a notice of intent for the construction in the town of Douglas. Basically, everything that the town of Douglas has already reviewed, issued an order of conditions for, required a restoration plan for, and also required peer review for. Those are the facts. Uxbridge does not have the ability to levy fines because they do not have a bylaw. And they also issued a cease and desist order for work and construction in the town of Douglas. And I am a little uncertain how that would work with another town taking jurisdiction over land in another town like this. I met, Samantha and I went to the Uxbridge Town Hall last week to meet with the Uxbridge Conservation Agent and the Uxbridge Chair with our chair. Mr. Fitzpatrick is also the building official in Uxbridge, so that was convenient. And they told us what they were doing. So that's, I'm going to let you know about that. And then on Douglas's side, it would be good to know from Mr. Roush what the update on their end and doing all the work is and what's going on. So I don't know how you want to start this, Mr. Chairman.
So, yeah, let's hear from the Mr. Roach.
Okay. Are you there, Mitch?
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Very well.
All right. As far as the updates go, we've started, as mentioned last time, with pumping down and filtering the pond and returning it into our underground storm system. As the filtering is taking place, we're taking samples and they're coming in 17 or lower. So that's what we're putting back into the ground. The rest of the site has had additional erosion control measures put in place in preparation. The restoration plan is being modified a little bit based on CRG's requests. And then the last item I can update with is speaking with my landscaper and preparations in the planting season. They are looking to move in at the beginning of October. They're going to start spraying seed in all the open areas. And then I've asked them to come back in and put in a couple rows of straw matting as protection to keep anything from washing out onto the roads and potentially getting into the storm system. And then as soon as we can get this pumped down, we're going to go in, we're going to put in the monitoring wells as requested by one of the commissions. I apologize, I don't know which one. We have an under drain system that will be going in, and then if necessary, we'll be reconstructing the infiltration basin to achieve the perk rates that were originally designed. And then down in the washout area, we've added another row of silt fence, as well as for the life of me, sometimes the silt sock or filter sock. And then once we can get in there, we'll add the additional layer of heavier riprap and get down and do some seeding and some additional plantings and trees down in the area where the washout occurred.
Okay, I'm sure you've been out to the site, Mitch, right?
Last time I was out on the site was when I was at the meeting that week.
Okay, I was out there Sunday. That road is failing again, you know that, right?
Yes, we do, and that is part of the restoration plan. From where the washout occurred, we're going to go basically 100 feet in each direction, removing that road. We're going to end up probably removing some of the soils underneath there, bringing back in clean soils. We have a testing agency that will test the compaction. We have the testing agency who is also going to do the reporting, as well as SWCA going to be reviewing as we put all that back in place. So there are measures put in place to make sure we meet all all the requirements, and if not, exceed them to the best we can so that this doesn't occur again.
Okay, so right now, the problem you have is that you went down and cleaned up all the stuff down in the side that belongs to the town of Uxbridge. Even though Douglas owns the land, it's in Uxbridge. So nobody was notified down there of what you were doing. And consequently, that's what's got you guys into trouble. Before you guys do anything down there, you definitely got to get your plans, what you plan on doing, to correct it, and get it down so it can be checked out and make sure it's good with them before you proceed. Like I said, that whole situation up there is not good. It's that, even though everybody tells me that the pond down the bottom isn't technically I guess a wet area? A wetland?
It's not a jurisdictional wetland, the one we're
Okay.
looking at the screen right now.
Okay. That is, the color of that hasn't changed in 3 weeks. So if that continues to, if we get a good event of rain, that will flow over, go into the Mumford, and then now we just enter more problems. So I would say at this point, Mitch, you got to, before you guys do anything down there, I'd like to see what the plan is that's going to correct this. And what's the plan for cleaning that water up? Down below, it's graded out, there's sediment, you get rain, it's running right down in there. There's nothing stopping it. And like I said, with me being out there Sunday, this is the third time that road has not stood up. I've asked for a detail of where the piping for the drains for all that stuff is. I have yet to date to receive it. I've got the topo map that he gave me, but I asked for all the piping where it's going, because when I went down and looked at that thing 2 weeks ago, that pond, retention pond, was at a level, when I looked at the grates in the road, it was exactly the same level. So I'm saying, how is this thing piped? Because the catch basins, the water was directly below the cover. So, I mean, any kind of event at all, it would have overflowed. So I don't think that it's been corrected yet as to whatever you guys are designing with the pipe. So we got to figure out what's going on there, because we can't, every time you have a good storm, wash the road out. That's not gonna really.
I'm worried. It was my civil engineer is at Uxbridge tonight. The restoration plan has been submitted to both conservation commissions. The peer review plan has been submitted to both conservation commissions. If we need to redistribute those, I can let Todd know to get those out. The revisions, which I know Todd is working on, I can have him make sure that those get distributed also. But back in February, the restoration plan was submitted, and then a week after the peer review comments came out from Haley Ward, I know Todd submitted that peer review comments and plans to address the items on the peer review.
Right, but then the cleanup went, you guys went and did all the cleanup, and there was no supervision at all. Just showed up, and all of a sudden, everything's just removed, and that's not how we do things, so. And that's what got Uxbridge upset, and rightfully so.
Mitch, what is the status of the driveway and the possibility that was raised about raising the driveway and adding a outfall pipe to the basin so that it doesn't run across, so that the water does not run across that road? Because that's your big issue.
That is shown on the peer review plan. There is a under drain system that is set up for there with a, I want to call it an overflow catch basin. The road is, in a sense, the road's being a little bit redesigned to eliminate the curbing to help direct road water. And then the storm system itself is, has peak fill pressures behind it so that it can contain what it needs to. I apologize, I'm not a civil engineer, I didn't design this, and Todd is better to answer those questions of how everything works. But that, again, the designs have been put out there for what the plans are.
So I know the peer review suggested these alterations, but are you putting them into effect?
Yes,
So there will be a plan that will be shown to us, or maybe it already has been, I haven't seen it though.
I think that was
shows
the
this-
previous document.
Okay.
Well, there was I'm sorry, the storm damage restoration plan from January 16, which was then peer-reviewed by Haley Ward. Okay, we got a date of February 20 on that, and then Beals Associates had a response to their peer review dated February 28.
And so that February 28th response has detailed engineering plans showing the changes that they're going to,
I don't remember getting any,
I don't remember seeing.
I don't remember
I
seeing
don't
those
think
either.
so.
Okay.
So it's my understanding that the details that are attached with this peer review response, you want those on a stamped drawing, a plan drawing?
I would
Is that
say,
what
I would say
you're
yes.
requesting?
Yes.
Well, I want to make sure we get them to you properly.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd say that if they're going to execute a plan that requires, actual site work,
You
then
can have a
it's
set of plans.
appropriate to have a set of plans associated with it that can then be relied upon and reviewed later on to see if they were actually done the way the plan said.
Yeah.
I'm going to say fair enough. I understand what you'd like to see, and I'll relay that information and we'll get it submitted.
And I'd say that the frustration here is that, there's been a plan, there's been a peer review, but the execution time has been frustrating. At this point, I think we've lost the entire vernal pool breeding season.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
everything's been wiped out down there.
Yeah, and when BSC Group did the peer review for this project to begin with, they went down into those pools, and in the pool that's currently soup, their peer reviewer did a vernal pool investigation in April and found 40 salamander egg masses, at which point this is going to be 0 this year. Now, the problem is that,
Shame.
here's the thing, is that something that I'd really like to see, because now Uxbridge has inserted themselves into this, right? And they're claiming jurisdiction over land that's in the town of Douglas. I understand this because much like is being done in, at the Oak Street, the town of Sutton had the prerogative to pull the Oak Street site into their jurisdiction if they wanted to, because even if the source of the problem is outside of jurisdiction, Conservation Commission can pull that into their jurisdiction, even though it might be hundreds of feet away, similar to other projects in town too, because the commission has the right to stop the problem at the source, right? You don't want to get hamstrung that way. So when I was at the meeting in Uxbridge last week, I asked them, I said, well, number one, do you know exactly where the town line is? And second, did you ever have an ANRAD done for the property in Uxbridge? And the answer is no. Okay, so I think that the type of wetlands that are present here on the Uxbridge side is still up for grabs. I mean, there's a presumption that you have an isolated land subject to flooding in the back, right, that was affected back in December. And then you have that will wetland up front that everybody's calling a non-jurisdictional wetland that's been affected during every storm, but then again on the MLK Junior weekend, and then over the weekend of what, I think the 7th, right? So last weekend.
Yep.
During December and the MLK Junior storm, I saw that both pools were hydrologically connected. There's a little berm, a little isthmus between the two. I saw the water raise up above it, and the two were acting as if they were one water body. So if it was me, if I had my first bite at the apple, because I wasn't here at the very beginning, I would call the whole thing, both separate pools, as actually being one pool, because they were connected during the December storm. I'd call the whole thing jurisdictional, as an isolated land subject to flooding. That's me. So if it was me, I'd call that front area jurisdictional, but it's technically in Uxbridge, but I don't know exactly where the line is. And I think we're getting to the point where we really need to separate where jurisdiction is.
Well, why aren't we calling it a vernal pool? If there's egg masses and salamanders that have been found in that first pool, why is that not a vernal pool?
Well, because the town line is, what I've been told is very close to the bottom of the slope. So that means that both those pools are in Uxbridge. So Douglas has been kind of stepping back and letting Uxbridge deal with stuff that's on Uxbridge property. Not on Uxbridge, town of Uxbridge land, even though it's land owned by the town of Douglas, which is a very unique situation. But I'd say if Uxbridge is going to start inserting themselves into Douglas affairs and Douglas land, then I think that maybe you should think about inserting yourselves into things that are going on in the town of Uxbridge, especially if the land is owned by the town of Douglas. So you can't call it a vernal pool under the Douglas bylaw if the land is technically in Uxbridge, but you can still insert yourselves into it however you like.
All right, let me get away from that a little bit. You on the drainage in that site along that access road up by the Hartford Ave end, you have a picture of that?
What do you want a picture of, Mr. Chairman?
The drainage road, the access road, and it's up by Hartford Ave, has all the silt on it coming down the hill.
Yeah, let's see what I got here from, I didn't go all the way, yeah, I got that, down, yep. Yep.
Mitch, when you were talking, you said seeding in October. Do you mean May or April?
Yeah, I heard that too. Why are we waiting till
Yeah,
October?
I apologize, I meant April. So in about 2 weeks.
Okay,
Thank you.
there's another picture showing that silt a little better. There you go. Mitch, you see all this silt right here?
Say again, sir, I apologize.
Do you see the silt on the road? That's up
Yes.
the other end of the access road. There's a culvert right there, catch basin. So all that's going down that catch basin. My question is, where's that being piped to?
Let's see.
Is that the southeastern corner?
Yeah, it's up on Hartford Ave side.
Yeah, so I think this is the crux of the problem, is that this basin was designed with a very fast infiltration rate because it's underlain by sand and gravel,
Yes.
right? So,
But now we're sealed off the site with topsoil.
yeah, well, if all these fine materials end up going into that basin, then it creates a
It's getting,
veneer on the
It's
bottom
being
that
piped.
prohibits the infiltration. So it was bad, what we call housekeeping practices.
Well, it's because they were topsoiling it in November.
Right. Just in time.
My apologies.
that's right.
For the record, Todd Morey from Beals Associates. Devin Howe from our office is with me. My apologies, I was over in Uxbridge.
Yep. So we're
Just as I was leaving there, Bob and Eric sent me a text saying it's about to start, so I said, I'll get there as quick as I can.
This is the other end of the site, and there's a catch basin up there. This is Hartford Ave side, the old entrance when you started construction.
Yep.
So all that sediment coming down, there's a catch basin right there. Where is that pipe to?
That goes to the infiltration basin.
So that's all being piped down through the,
That's all part of the sediment problem.
because on that wall there that's been, that sprayed wall,
Yep.
the base
Soil
of
on the wall.
that is irritated, it's eroding out.
Yeah, there's also a problem up at the top of it as well.
Yeah. On that same corner, the sidewalk that goes around the building, that's all being undermined also.
Okay.
And there's a basin right there for drainage.
Which also goes to the infiltration.
So, I mean, besides that, like I said, the road, this is the third time that road's failing. It's dropped down at least a foot.
Yeah, around where they replaced the basin, that's sinking in.
Yeah,
We've
I was
noticed
up
that.
there Sunday.
Yep, yeah, we've seen that.
So the question is how are we going to resolve this?
So here's the issue we're facing, and we were, one of the reasons that we were in Uxbridge tonight was to work on that. Well, I'm not sure if you're aware, Uxbridge issued an enforcement order that requires us to cease and desist all work. Across the entire site. They would like to take jurisdiction over the entire site. So we were there tonight, trying to work through that issue, trying to find out, they would like us to file an NOI so they can review everything. And we were pleading our case about the cease and desist all work. We said, you know, if we have to file an NOI, which will go in the beginning of April, they'll peer review it, I'm sure. It'll be several months before that's resolved. And we're coming into, quicker than most years, we're coming into a growing season. We would like to get the site stabilized. We'd like to get grass growing, which will resolve a lot of these problems. I don't know if Mitch has spoken tonight, but he and I had a conversation today. It sounds like as early as April 1st, he's ready to start seeding that site. And so that's what we were trying to work with them on. We did get them to back off the cease and desist on the absolutely no work. They will allow us to do erosion control, stabilize things. They'll allow us to take care of the work on the inside of the basin so that Devin and I can get in there and do the infiltration testing that we'd like to do as part of our overall restoration plan. So we did get that part cleared up. We're still under their request for a notice of intent. We started to argue some jurisdictional things, but that, I think it's safe to say that didn't go real well, so we ceased that discussion. Otherwise, I probably would still be there, going back and forth. So that's kind of where we're at.
You just said that they would allow for stabilization?
They're going to allow for stabilization, so they're going to amend the enforcement order to allow us to do any kind of erosion control stabilization work anywhere on the site. At first, they had it just focused on the basin, and I told them that's not the limits of what we need to take care of. It's the entire site needs to be stabilized, so they amended it again to that. So they're going to allow us to do that.
So seedbed prep and seeding is part of stabilization?
Absolutely it is. Nope, I fully agree with you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think it's critical that you hit the right timing on that, and that would be April.
Yeah, this year's a little bit different than in years past, so I think that window's going to open up a little bit earlier, and hopefully the ground is going to remain moist enough that we can get a quick pop on it. That's my hope.
How about work to rectify the issues with the infiltration basin itself, though?
We can take the sediment out. We can do the testing that we want to do to verify everything. We can reseed and stabilize the side slopes. That's it. They don't want us to do the outlet structures. They don't want us to do the wick drain. They don't want us to rebuild the road. They don't want us to rebuild the slope. So we are in a bit of a bind, and I'm not sure how to get out of it. I'm not sure what the best way forward is. I've always been of the opinion that when you have situations like this, we basically do the process that we've done. We come up with a restoration plan. We had it peer reviewed, and then we implement it. That's kind of what we'd like to do. So
You say restoration plan, but I thought you said they wanted a notice of intent.
they do want a notice of intent.
Okay.
I was talking about, what we wanted to do is we wanted to implement that process that we've been discussing with this commission all along. You wanted the restoration plan. We created that, we delivered it, you had it peer reviewed. We went along with most of the things that were in the peer review, I think with one exception. And I think coming into the season that we're coming into, it's probably a pretty good idea to get going on it. But we have the issue of the notice of intent, and
Right, and now you're limited to, is there anything in the restoration plan that was permissible or okayed by Haley Ward that you now can't do?
the majority of it,
The majority of it.
yeah. So,
So this really gets into cross-town traffic, as Jimi Hendrix said. How do we rectify this jurisdictionally between the two towns? And what if they issue an order of conditions that contradicts what the town of Douglas has already issued and is still valid?
Well,
I met with the chair last week, and I told him my hope is that we can have a unified front, and to please share the notice of intent with this Conservation Commission and me, so that we can comment on it as well, because, town of Douglas is one of the landowners here, right?
you're a landowner and you're in a butter.
And in a butter, right. So I'm hoping that whatever is approved in Uxbridge doesn't contradict anything that was approved here in Douglas, because that would be a real mess.
I can assure you that whatever we submit will only be documents that have been submitted to Douglas. We're not changing any documents. We're not changing the restoration plan. We're submitting that plan along with all the various peer review letters and the responses to those peer review letters and all the things that have been agreed with, as well as going back, they even want the original plan set. So we did get them to at least accept an electronic submittal. So I think I've given you part of the file in a Dropbox, so you can see that's a lot of paper. So
Yeah, you did.
yeah, we're gonna.
I'm not necessarily saying that the original peer review was done by BSC Group, and there's a question about whether or not having a road as an emergency spillway was a good idea to begin with. I think that the general consensus is, since that time, since we've had this event, that the answer there is probably no. But what happens when the town of Uxbridge gets their own peer reviewer, that's not BSC Group, and they come up with a completely different set of conclusions? What happens?
Okay, well, that's something that we got to wait and see what they come up with. We could be what-ifs all night, so let's see what they come up with. What got them upset is, like they explained to us down there, was they didn't have any idea what was going on. So that's what got them upset down there. So let's,
well, I'm sure they're upset too about it happening 3 times.
yeah, well, that was it. And they were out of the loop. There was nothing. So one of the things I'm going to ask you guys is make sure you CC them on anything that you submit to us. Make sure they get a copy of it.
And vice versa?
I think there's a fairly significant email group that has come out of all of this. I'm not sure if you're on it. I believe you are. And I know Brandon is, and the agent over in Uxbridge is on that as well. So, yeah, anytime correspondence is going back and forth, it's shared amongst everybody.
Okay. All right, let's, let me talk to them tomorrow and see what's going on,
Okay.
all right? And I can find out,
Okay.
all right?
Yep.
Anything else, Mark?
No, I really have nothing else.
Jim? No. Mike? Anybody from the audience? No? Anybody from Zoom? Okay. When they do back in?
Probably can't hear you.
Anybody from Zoom? No, still not there.
When's the next meeting?
April 1st.
Yeah,
Mike
April
Ruckelauer.
1st.
April 1st. We'll have you on the agenda for April 1st.
All right. I mentioned this to them. Your your meeting schedules line up
Yeah, they're
painfully well.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to be able to do is coordinate both with Brandon as well as Emily Petro, and try to get us early on one agenda, late on the other.
Yep.
To be quite honest with you, I come down here from Boston, I travel home to New Hampshire, so it doesn't matter to me which is which, as long as we can try to schedule it such
Yeah.
that I can try to be in two places at once. That's the other reason I wanted to bring Devin with me, at least so he's a face you've seen, so if he has to cover one, and then hopefully we can keep Mitch on. I know Mitch can make these because it's, you have a Zoom option. They don't over in Uxbridge, so.
Yeah, because I'd be real curious why that road gave out again.
Around the catch basin? You and me both. So I share your curiosity there. That was one thing I was not expecting to see. The elevation of the water inside the catch basins didn't surprise me, because when that pond comes up, that water will come up as well, because they are hydraulically connected. But I don't understand
Is
the
there a
road.
plug on that catch basin that's by the retention pond?
There shouldn't be.
The other one?
Yeah, there shouldn't be.
Because I was looking down in there, I couldn't tell if it's a plug or not, that's why.
There should be a hood on it. So all the catch basins have hoods on them,
Okay.
so that when the water comes up, that they're not actually taking the surface, they're taking just below the surface. Kind of helps with oil and grease and that kind of thing.
So I see that you're pumping out the basin right now into the frac tank.
That's correct.
And where is it getting pumped from?
So I saw a funny picture that somebody sent me over the weekend, and I thought they were taking it out of the basin itself and putting it into a manhole, which
That's what I thought,
recirculated it
because
back.
That's where the hose goes.
Yeah, that's actually a suction line. So they were suctioning out of that, so they didn't risk putting the pump itself into the
Dirt.
into the silt on the bottom, because where they're pumping it to is the infiltration tank that is fed just by rooftop. So that thing is spotless inside, and we wanted to make sure it was protected. So that was one of the reasons that they're doing, I think it's 25, 15, and 5 micron filters that they run it through before they discharge it back in, because we know that one was clean, we want to make sure it stays clean.
Right.
And that's really been our gauge on what we expect the performance of the infiltration to be once this gets cleaned out.
So it's getting suctioning through a catch basin?
So they were suctioning it out through a manhole, because everything's kind of hydraulically
Same
connected.
level, so-
Yeah.
Yeah, he's exactly right. So that
goes
water
way
comes up, the muck stays in the bottom of the basin, and just water comes up. So they put the suction line down in there. And then as soon as it got below that, I think they're putting it now, the suction line now, in the sediment forebay to try to pull it out there where the stone was exposed.
Okay. And you filed that notice of intent with Uxbridge?
Filing the notice of intent with Uxbridge on or before April 5th.
Okay.
The only thing that I need to figure out, and I was actually thinking about this on the way over, is, since we're going to do all of the background information over the past, I guess it's 2 years, or however long it's been, electronically, what do we do in the copy to DEP on that? I can certainly email an analyst a link, but I think one of the ways I may talk to Emily about doing it is file the notice of intent on the restoration plan and include there the link more as a courtesy, but that way they absolutely get all the information.
So you're going to include the restoration plan in your notice of intent, or you're going to do a separate notice of intent?
No, I think the restoration plan would go in the notice of intent to Uxbridge.
I got you.
Yeah, so it's all just one notice of intent. My concern there is just everything gets lost in a shuffle, right? So then you have 2 notices of intent. You need
Yeah, I
2
got you.
orders, 2 DEP notices. It just, you see where that's going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then if you learn anything and there's recommendations or anything that you need to add, I'm all ears.
Yeah, like I said, I'm still waiting on the print showing me how all that piping works. I got the topo maps,
Okay.
but I didn't see any layouts where the drains all go.
You got this,
Yeah.
but what Chairman's saying, he wants to see the piping.
Oh, okay.
Catch basins and the tanks you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, how does it all fit together?
Okay.
So we would like to have this on this as-built.
You want me to put-
Well,
No, it can be
you
a
know.
separate plan.
Okay, yeah, I'll send you those.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try to parse it out. I'll just give you the whole site, and that way, even the parts that aren't going to the infiltration basin, you can have that.
Because it's a little confusing, you're trying to figure out what's going where. So if you get a plan, I can
Absolutely.
follow that.
Yep, I'll drop a couple copies of that in the mail tomorrow.
Okay.
Anything else?
Like I said, just anything else, make sure you check with them guys down there too, because
Yep.
all that sediment down there that's caused a major problem. And then it all got cleaned up. It was like, I went up there one week and it was there, and the next week I went back, it's gone. It's like, nobody knew it even was taking place, basically. So,
Oh, you mean getting the debris from the slide out?
Yep.
I will take some of the blame for that. My request to Clayco and Vinagro was to, as soon as that road let go the first time, get that cleaned up as fast as you can. The intent was not to hide anything. I figured.
No, it wasn't, but-
I figured when it went, everybody knew when it went.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just get it cleaned up before any more damage is done. And that, at that point, we were also focused on, I think you went down there when it was broken out. You saw that the sewer was just kind of hanging there. We had the electrical conduit.
right.
The
That
duct
was the
bank.
second time.
Yeah. So we just wanted that cleaned up, and that was the reasoning for getting that all done that way. But,
Okay.
all right.
Anything, Mark?
Nope,
Jim?
ready to move on.
No.
Nope. Anybody from the audience? Is anybody from Zoom? Okay,
As always, appreciate your time. Thank you.
continue it.
Thank you.
Again, apologies for being late.
Okay. Okay, next is old business, notice of intent, public hearing continuation for Nicholas and Mary Beth Mello, 209 South Main Street, single-family home in tight tank replacement. That's item 8.
Mr. Chairman, I need to recuse myself.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I think tonight, we're pretty much all set. We did go to the zoning board a couple weeks ago, and the zoning board approved our variance request based on the last plans we submitted to the Conservation Commission. So we just didn't want to close that meeting, if you remember, at the last meeting until we were sure zoning wasn't going to make us change anything. So we should be all set, and we're hoping that tonight maybe we can get order of conditions for this project.
Yeah, I think we were just waiting on you to go to zoning on that.
Yeah, and zoning's good. Per the plans that we submitted to you at the last meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, which I believe the one's dated 2/14.
Yeah, I don't,
No, October, these are dated October 3rd, 2023.
No, the most recent plan is, which is up on the board, is
yeah, that shows the,
most recent revision date of,
214.
yeah, it should be 2/14.
yeah, that would be it, because it shows the access to the pond,
Yeah, so.
and the driveways to be removed.
Yeah, right here. So 214 added access paths and eliminated existing gravel drive. So this is the plan right here that everybody seemed to be happy with.
Okay. Do you see the plans? You got 'em?
I was looking up.
Any questions?
Yeah. This is the same plan as the
Yeah.
last time.
Mike, you have any questions?
No.
Anybody from the audience have any questions? Does anybody from Zoom have any questions? Okay. Okay, I want to entertain a motion.
Sure, make a motion to grant it, so with the conditions that was provided,
You could say standard special conditions.
standard special conditions.
Hold on, Mr. Benoit wants to, as an interjection. Mr. Chairman.
Point of order, just need a motion to close the public hearing first.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thanks very much.
Get a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second and closes the public hearing.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Now I have a motion.
Yep, make a motion, I'm sorry, to,
Issue an order of condition
thank you, to issue an order of conditions
with standard special
with
conditions.
standard special conditions.
Second.
We have a motion and seconded to issue order conditions with the, as noted on the February 2nd print,
14.
February 14th print. All,
Jim Moore and I.
Mike Greco, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Okay.
Great. So when do you think we could get the order of conditions?
Add it to our list.
Maybe at the next meeting?
Yeah, that's definitely,
Okay.
yep. That's what, 2 weeks from today?
Sure, and we don't need to be here for that. Jen will have them, and then...
She will.
And then we have to wait the 10-day appeal period, so,
Correct.
okay,
Yep.
Very
Pre-construction
good.
meeting, all that good stuff.
sure, yep, very good, thank you.
You gonna have them done ahead of time?
I would hope so.
Because I'll stop in and sign them ahead of time if they're available.
Well, we've got the signature page right now,
Okay.
so let's hand that around. There you go.
Signatures here.
Yep. You might just slide it on over. Yep.
Okay, next, ANRAD, public hearing continuing, abbreviated notice of resource delineation, Artwood Investment Groups LLC, 3338 Caswell Court, map 137, lot 6 and 8. You're back again.
Yeah, Caswell Court.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're just waiting on the peer reviewer to finish up his review, and
Yep.
then, so when you are done and you have any comments, you will email those to me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
Or
that's
to Allen
forthcoming.
Engineering?
I thought I'd have them to you by now, but forces of the universe working against me. But, yeah, the field review's done. We obviously do have some comments.
Yeah,
And we'll get it to you, and if it requires a site walk, then we'll do that too.
okay, so typically you send your comments back to Allen Engineering, and then you may or may not want to meet with one of their staff out there in the field.
Okay?
Correct? Is that typically how you do it?
One of their staff?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, somebody from Allen Engineering,
okay,
yeah.
all right. I can do that.
I know, but typically, is that how you do it, though? Or you just send our comments and we go back out there?
I'm not
and
always
look
so,
at it?
I'm not always as formal as that. Maybe, sometimes I get out in the field and I say, oh, this is really off, and I just call the person who did the delineation. I say, can you just meet me out there to discuss stuff?
Okay, sometimes it's not needed.
Yeah, sometimes it's not needed, but we're going to put together which flag numbers we think need to be moved and why, and if the person from Allen Engineering wants to meet, then that's what we'll do.
Okay,
Okay,
very good then. So this will get continued
April 1st.
April 1st, okay.
Yeah. What do you get there?
It's an emergency certification.
Okay, how come you only have one? Oh, never mind. I thought one of them was the enforcement order,
All set?
or the other one. All set?
Okay, next we have public hearing continue, notice of intent for Deer Crossing Development, Linwood, Woodland Road, map 250, lot 6.
Okay, Woodland Road,
That should be item 10.
There's some paperwork issues that have to be addressed with that project. Since there was a permit issued for the whole subdivision, I don't know, 2004, something like that. And then I believe, I was talking to the DEP, trying to, chase some of these permits, and she also said Roth, Kimberly Roth, is it, from the DEP?
Kim Roth, she works Central Region, yeah.
Also mentioned there were water quality certs also issued for those culvert crossings, so those need to be closed out before we really can move forward. She says those are still open, and that's all she could find in her files. So actually, my client, who's an attorney, has got to do some of his own research regarding what's still outstanding and what's been closed.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's a little confusing. So I know there was, I believe, a certificate of compliance issued for the stormwater basin, but I don't believe for the roadway and the wetland crossings. And then the water quality certs were issued too, so I don't understand that, but.
Yeah, because DEP hasn't even issued a file number for this.
No, and they won't until
Do all that
the other thing gets cleaned up. So that's kind of where it sits right now, is it's cleaning up the old and closing out the old. And
Gotcha.
so I'm going to, let my client, who's an attorney,
Clean it up.
clean it up, see what's been done and what hasn't been done and what we need to do so we can move forward. So that's kind of where that sits. So I would postpone this one for at least a month.
May 13th?
What's that?
May 13th?
That's, because he's not going to have it in 2 weeks.
I don't even think it's going to be ready for May 13th, but why not?
Probably right, but
But it's a good date.
Okay. So we're going to continue this to May 13th.
Oh, we have someone in the audience.
Yes.
What is this whole agenda item
Oops.
about this?
Extension of Woodland Road.
Okay, yeah, I have plenty to say about that. None of the abutters were ever notified about this. I'm one of them, the Beagle Club is one of them, the state of Massachusetts is one of them, and this is repeatedly, it keeps going on and on and on. This has been going on 6-7 years now. He does not notify any abutters, he doesn't make any effort to. It needs to stop. Besides, at the last conservation meeting, me and several of my other neighbors were here talking about water quality issues. I talked about issues with the plans. There's a mysterious sanitation engineer that no one knows where he lives, what his phone number is. His license has been going on since 1976. He has no employer that we know of. It's quite mysterious. The stuff that's getting built, the soil reports that they're using are from like 2006, and this commission still keeps granting them permissions to build things. It's beyond ridiculous. All of the lots that this new road would access are all wetland lots. There's not a single one of them that isn't. And you're talking, that road goes right up to the Beagle Club's property, and there's all signs all in the woods there. You can't go anywhere near that. It's all shooting ranges, all kinds of camps back there for the shooting range, and they repeatedly don't give the Beagle Club or anybody else. The state of Massachusetts is also in a butter on the north side of it as well, and there's no evidence that they've ever been notified.
well, I think we should have evidence in the folder.
Do we have the folder?
I don't have mine with me tonight, but I did notify the abutters.
The town folder?
Because Jen always asks.
I didn't get notified. I'm in a butter.
What's your address?
81 Old Farm,
And what's your name?
Rebecca Claus.
What's it again?
Claus.
Claus?
I mean, why, if we're not building on the wetlands and the neighborhood is running out of underground water, the entire neighborhood is being Every single well is tapping into the same underground water source. Why are we extending a road so that we can build more lots that are all going to access the same underground water
Well,
source?
I wish I had the plan with me. I didn't bring it because it was just being continued, but basically what it is that subdivision was approved back in 2004, something like that, of the whole subdivision.
But that expired years and years and years ago. It's completely invalid.
Well,
The entire, and that would be like me saying, oh, I have house plans from 2004, I'm just going to build them.
Well, what my client's trying to do is that one of the crossings that was approved at one time back in 2004, he's trying to do another crossing that's much more in accordance to the new regulations and the stream crossing regulations that we have to adhere to today.
Additionally, the lot next door to me that's being built upon, I went back and looked at the regulations because I was here 2 weeks ago with the lot on the opposite side of my house. Well, the other lot under construction now, and my septic and well were never located on those plans, and those plans were approved by this commission. And this keeps going on and on and on. The whole neighborhood, none of the plans submitted had the proper information, and they should have never been approved to begin with. The 69 Woodland next to me, their septic system is being built in the setbacks, and their septic system's going to be 100 feet from my septic system. Yet my septic system and well were never put on the plans for approval. How this gets past this commission is supposed to be checking those plans, not the Board of Health. It's the Conservation Commission is supposed to be verifying Title V compliance.
Actually, no, actually it's the Board of Health.
That's right.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's in the bylaws, Title V for Douglas. It says right in it that this commission is to review the plans for Title V compliance, and they're not doing it. The other problem I'm having is that entire site next door to me, 69 Woodland, is being filled with sand. Dump trucks have been coming for weeks and filling, the site as a whole, which they're now filling in the entire hole with sand. We're talking, a quarter-acre area all around the house is being filled with multiple feet of sand. I'm at the point where I'm getting concerned. I'm getting concerned that that site is, they're going to fill the whole thing up and all the water's going to come in my yard. Sand is not appropriate fill to backfill a lot or a foundation. And they're bringing in material which they're not supposed to be doing. It's,
Now, which lot is yours?
this is my house. Oh my God, I'm sorry. 22 is the lot that they're working on. They stripped the whole thing all the way back to the buffer zone, and they're filling in the entire thing with sand. Yes.
Or you're the house right up above it?
Yep, and my house was actually shown on the plan that was approved by this commission, and my septic was not shown on it, and it should have.
Was it distance shown on it? Because that's
Nothing.
normally what we
Absolutely
get, is a
nothing.
plan that shows the distance
Absolutely
from other.
nothing. So, yeah, I'm not happy. I've been listening to construction literally all summer for the last 7 years, and it's all on wetland lots. If you extend this road, you're extending it, to and through next to a firing range, and it's going to be all wetland lots that are going to be developed there.
So this is the
I was-
subdivision plan that was approved in 2004.
It's never been approved.
Yes, it was. That is the
Okay,
plan
but it
that was approved in the lot,
It
the
expired
lots.
years and years and
No, a
years ago.
subdivision plan is in existence until it's built out, and that was apparently not built out if there's still houses being planned and built.
If it was planned, if it was approved by planning,
Now,
it doesn't mean
each of
that it
those
has
lots were not
conservation approval or
permitted
any
as
other
to
approval to
what was
build
going to
it.
happen on each of those
Everything has
individual
an
lots, and the roads.
It all has an expiration date. Even planning, it all has an expiration date.
No,
No,
now
a
you do the
subdivision lot
subdivision, it
plan
doesn't.
does not have an expiration date.
because that's drawn up as a deed and it goes to
drawn
Worcester.
up.
Worcester House of Deeds, and it's recorded there, so if somebody buys it, they know what
They
they're
never
buying.
So
had
just like your lot was
Never.
on
You
that
can- you can-
2004 plan and did not change.
They could do a subdivision, okay, in an area that's totally flooded. And they're
Absolutely.
just saying that is the boundary of the property. They're not saying you can build on it, what you can do.
Right.
They're just saying that's your piece of property. So you could have 1 acre of land and 3/4 underwater. All you have is that area. And that's recorded with the house, Worcester House of Deeds. So this subdivision was approved back then. These lots were created back
It
then.
wasn't even the same owner, though.
It doesn't
Doesn't
matter.
matter.
They created the lots back then, they're registered as a parcel of land of a certain size, and that's it.
That's not permission to build, though. That's not permission to build.
No,
That's not what it-
no,
that's not what
It's not
we're not saying
That's
it's
not what a
permission.
subdivision
Bridge,
does.
Permission to build a road.
Subdivision is just breaking the land up into parcels.
Right.
That's all it's doing.
And they already have separate owners, yes.
Okay, so
They already have.
to say that it expires, it doesn't expire. That's how they create their lots, and that would go on until somebody, you had a bigger piece and they wanted to subdivide it, or they wanted to join it, whatever. But that lot would exist until such time somebody does something with it.
But the whole process, abutters have not been notified. It's been going on continuously, marching down those lots, down Woodland, for years. It's
Okay.
not, and it's something I've mentioned here, and I've mentioned it again, and I mentioned it again, and it's not changing, which is a problem.
Okay, well, I don't know what's happened in the past.
Well, I do.
Well, I'm telling you right now, I don't know,
Okay.
okay? But
Go
we
through
try
the
to
meeting
follow it by the book, what we're supposed to do. Okay, and that's what we do. So you got to get the notice of intent out to the abutters, make sure they're notified and so forth and so on.
Show me the letter that they sent me about this, or anybody else.
Okay, I'll
You should
explain it
have-
again, I'll explain it again.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You should have 6 of them right there. And then they try to say, oh, well, we published it in the newspaper in Worcester. Do you subscribe to the?
Here's all the return receipts here, for one of them.
Sure.
And the developer requests who to send the notices to from the town. So they don't just make up the list, they request it from the town.
This is Sterling House.
It's just wherever the owners
Lives.
lives, right, whatever their mailing address is. So, Margaret, this lot 6 looks like it's the road. The road itself is the lot.
That's correct.
Yeah, the road itself is the
That's
lot.
correct.
Right, so very often with linear projects, you only have to go so far out from where the actual disturbance is. So I'm guessing that's what was done, which is why it might have not made it all the way to Mrs. Klaus's property.
Yeah, well, like I said,
Yeah, I
But-
wasn't notified.
I can only go by what the assessors give me, so.
Okay, thank
like
you.
I said,
Again, it's not done the proper way. They make excuses. There is no excuse.
I think it's an excuse.
It shouldn't be repeatedly overlooked. That's not a mistake. It's deliberate.
I don't think it's deliberate.
That's
I mean, I-
that's
I
very
play by
strong,
the
ma'am.
rules.
I would
I,
not start saying that.
I would,
Okay,
Okay,
Okay.
I would.
Well, we'll-
Because the other there's neighbors over here.
well, you can talk to the assessors then.
Yeah, there's neighbors over there that built a new house, and then they approved of building a bridge with a private driveway there, and they never notified the neighbor next door. This has been going on and on and on. Yeah, look it up. 8 and 9, they didn't notify 33. And it's happened repeatedly to me.
okay, anything else?
So only this to say, we've got some research to do on our end to clean up, you know, the old permits from the past before we can move forward on
Right.
this. So, you know,
I think that's going to take some time.
It is going to take some time. So if you put me on the 13th, I'll try to have some answers where that's at. And then come up with a more realistic time to either withdraw or
Whatever.
whatever.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything from anybody on Zoom? Okay, so we're going to continue this to May 13th.
I make a motion, we continue this public hearing till, for Deer Crossing Development LLC, Woodland Road, map 250, lot 6, no DEP number yet, till May 13th.
I'll second that.
We have a motion seconded to continue the Deer Crossing Development Notice of Intent till May 13th.
Mark Mangum, aye.
And Jim Foran, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Get a second first?
I did.
Oh, we have a second,
Yeah.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Okay. Next is public hearing, notice of intent, Tim and Beth Longrigan, 278 Northwest Main Street, single-family home, map 159, lot 8. Up again? You're on a roll tonight.
Okay, good evening. I had an opportunity to revise that plan for 278 Northwest Main Street. If you remember, here's the initial plan. Now, I don't know if anybody's been out on the site, but it goes from Northwest Main Street right down to the Whitens Reservoir. It's a pretty good-sized slope, and actually, he's got a pretty good-sized building on there. But what we did do after the last meeting a couple weeks ago, comments we had regarding this swale coming
I
down
remember
the side of the property and all the trees that would be removed, so we addressed that. We also, he's got an architect on board now, so we were able to change the foundation and we stepped the slab, which helped us save quite a bit on grading. So that's the old plan, and here's the new plan.
And up on the screen, I have the two plans, the original right here, and then the new one. So they're probably about 99% aligned, so when you toggle between the two, you can see the differences between them pretty good.
So now even the second one, it looks like you still have a lot of grading, but the grading now is 3-to-1 slope, but not 2-to-1. Because we were able to take that slab, coming down the hill, there's a 4-foot drop in it, which allows us then to, it saves a lot on fill. Okay, so you can see on the latest and greatest, I don't have a lot of grading right at the end of the house, because I dropped that foundation down. So we have a top of concrete up here, and everything's going to step down, step down, step down. And then, like I say, there's that 4-foot drop there, so everything comes down more, which helps quite a bit with the grading, okay? And then, just to show you where we've designed this, so I've got all the only stormwater on this site comes from this site. I don't get anything from the road. And so we designed it, so here's a little swale here, so anything coming off the septic is going to hit a little grass swale, come down along this swale here. I have little drop inlets and some piping underneath, just to make sure we capture it all to a little basin right here. Okay, and we're really not talking a whole lot of water, because it's just this area. And then we have the house, and I have dry wells, a couple of dry wells right here, and if the dry wells overflow, it's going to go to this outlet basin and then right into this little swale here with check dams. So, like I said, I eliminated the swale on this side and eliminated the need to remove any of those trees. Eliminated a lot of the grading. And the only other thing I really want to put on this plan that I just received tonight was a construction schedule. The contractor sent me one just a little while ago, but I'd kind of like to beef it up a little more and put it right on the plan. Because this is one of those jobs you kind of want to do in phases. You don't want to open up the whole thing because you got the pond right here. You know, so I think we could put some type of, language on that plan that, allows to do it in phases. I think that's kind of what you'd want to do here. Because we know what happens when you open up everything. On a hill. With a lake. So I guess if maybe just continue this, well, if the board has any comments or questions on this, well, my thought is to continue it, let me put that construction sequence on this plan, and if you had any other comments, I could address that too.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
Are there any trees on this site?
Yes, there are. Actually.
I think where she got rid of the swale on the upper part, right, you were going to leave all those trees because originally you were going to have to cut them down, right?
Yeah, did I
Right.
put the tree
Yes.
line on?
Can you show on the plan the existing tree line and proposed tree line, please? Probably just got turned off.
Yeah, so let me put, well, I can just tell you from memory, all right? But I'll put that tree line on the next plan. But there is an existing gravel drive right here. So we do have a tree line right here. This is kind of opened up down here, and there's an existing shed, and actually there's an old outhouse right here. And then you have a tree line that comes over like this, okay? And so this is all trees, and then there's a tree line between these 2 properties. But I'll show that on the
Okay.
next plan.
And then second, I'm not seeing where the buffer line is.
Well,
Where are the
actually-
buffer lines?
Here's the 100-foot right here. And they have
That
it right-
orange line is what, 100?
That's the
Yep.
100.
Okay.
So we're not really in the buffer zone much, but you have the potential.
Right.
And the well down here is going to be in the buffer zone.
Right. And no, so we have like an existing gravel drive to a pad area or something at the bottom of the hill and an existing shed. Is there any change to that situation, or is it going to become a grass area? Do you need that great?
No, it's probably good, he wants to be able to access this to bring down his boats or whatever. So I don't imagine he's going to, it's kind of hard packed right now. I don't imagine he's going to turn that into grass, but he's still going to want to do that, be able to bring down his boat.
Okay, when we take out all the trees, we're maybe going to be introducing more runoff. How is that going to impact that area down below? I'm a little concerned about that.
Well, you're right, and that's why when they do take down all the trees, to do it in phases, so that one phase has an opportunity to get stable before they open up the other side. And then, like I say, and then in the long-term picture, you put in these, like I say, these swales and little stormwater basins, kind of like what I did there on Shore Road, that house lot right at the end, right on
I know
Rhode Island.
which one you mean, yeah.
That thing actually, it worked out pretty well. And that got a whole lot more water than this is ever going to see. But I would go down there during the big storm events just to see how that was working. And actually, it held up pretty well. Did you see that one down there?
Which one, where was this?
The one on Shore Road at the very end, right on the Rhode Island border.
No, I haven't seen that.
That was much wetter site, and they had runoff coming down the whole hill. And it held up pretty well, actually.
So Mark, to give you an idea of what it looks like, this picture up on the screen, is taken down at that pad area down the bottom of the hill, looking back up. So basically, all those trees are coming down. So, I stated at the last meeting that, I get a little bit of PTSD about grading on hill slides. And so this one definitely does concern me.
Yeah, and I'm just a little concerned about, it's going to be higher impact. I mean, they're building a new house, they're going to have that driveway down the side. I mean, it's going to get used more than it does now. It looks like it's just like a little, infrequently used little driveway, right? But then it's going to, I just want us to be thoughtful of the future.
Right. I do think the positive change has been taking the swale out of the north side, and that'll preclude the need to take down all the trees along that northern property line.
Absolutely, that's
So
a
that's
great
good.
change to the plan.
Right. And again, there's only a very small portion of the work that's actually within jurisdiction, but, the opportunity for a big storm to wash everything downhill, if this
Yeah.
project is not taken care of by a competent, careful contractor, then,
No problem.
Right, it's the process of
problems.
getting to the final plan that's always the issue, not the final plan.
yes.
And that's why, during construction, phase it, so you have a
Yes.
little more control.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I wanted to see at the last meeting we discussed, was this construction sequencing plan, and you could definitely have that on the plan and hold the contractor to it as a kind of
Okay.
backstop.
Yes.
Can you go back to that plan that you just showed?
Do me a favor, I know you already did this, but new hearing, so state your name and address once again, please.
Rebecca Floss, 81 Old Farm Road.
Is this for this here or the last
Can you put it
hearing?
back on the TV? I'm sorry, I
Sure,
can't see that
sure.
at all. That site won't have any trees on it. I can look at it online and see that the whole thing is treed. There's going to be a septic up front. You're going to have to access, you're not supposed to run the trucks over where the septic's going. The other side is the driveway. The grade is all changing all the way back beyond the boundary line even. None of that will be able to be treated. Everything, when you change the grade more than 6 inches, the trees cannot live. And you couldn't access to build that where it's located and to dig out the foundation, set up forms, there's no way. All the trees all the way back will be gone.
Yes, we understand that. That's why we asked the question about that, getting a plan showing the existing and proposed.
The existing, I can
Trees.
look at it online, it's completely treed. It will have.
But we need
Yes.
it.
It will have no
We
trees.
want it to be shown on the plan, though. That's part of our review.
Right.
But we also don't have jurisdiction over tree clearing
No.
outside the 100-foot buffer.
No, but those grades are extremely steep. That's concerning.
No doubt.
There are some regulations on that, I would assume.
On how steep the grades can be, actually,
Yeah,
no.
Without a wall, yeah.
Yeah, but there's only a very small portion of this is actually the work physically being done within 100 feet of the water, of the bank of the pond. But the Conservation Commission, I think, in this circumstance, still has the opportunity to take into consideration the grading and all that, and the potential for impact as a result of what's being proposed within jurisdiction. Yeah, I mean, one big storm, there'd be a blowout, could easily go right into the lake here. So, I mean, I'm not saying it can't be done, you're just going to need a very conscientious contractor if this is the design that's going to go forward. That's all. And the commission can condition this in a way that, it gets phased, so not the whole site gets opened up at once, and it acts as a kind of a backstop against potential problems.
Okay, so you can submit another plan showing the tree
Yeah.
detail on that and the construction details?
Yeah, I'm going to show a new plan showing existing tree line, a proposed tree line, and then construction sequence.
Okay. Yeah, the limited yes, yeah, okay.
Yeah, erosion control barrier
Yeah, I see that.
doubles as the limit of work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. You can do that for us, then, April 1st.
You good with that?
Make a motion, we continue the public hearing for Tim and Beth Lonergan, 278 Northwest Main Street. DP number, oh, we don't have a DP number.
I think so. Wasn't there one issued for this?
1 sec, I'll tell you. in a
It is
second.
DP 143-10XX, right, or no?
They're all accent.
XX means no number has been.
Yeah,
That's the case,
278
Deer
North
Crossing's the same number then.
Yeah, it hasn't been issued yet.
Really? Oh, okay, well, we gotta continue it.
I don't
Continued
know.
till April 1st.
So you can't proceed.
Yeah, you can't close on this yet.
Yeah.
Okay, missed that.
A single-family house, I don't know why they wouldn't have, now, I can understand Woodland Road, but a single-family house with lot with no previous history,
They've been slow lately.
okay.
You know, I guess I find that, yeah, if you don't email them the PDFs, if you just send them hard copies.
Well, I'm starting to get like that myself.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next is a public hearing, notice of,
Did we vote on that?
no, I'm sorry.
I'll second what Mark,
We have a motion and second to continue to April 1st
yes.
on 278 North Main Street.
Yeah, Mark Bonjam, aye.
Jim Four and I.
Mike Greco, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Okay, next we have a continuation notice of intent for Paul Machia, 75 Old Farm Road, map 237, lot 25. They've requested a continuation until April 1st per the applicant. And that's it, except for we got to do the minutes. I don't think there's anything in mail.
So we need to vote on a continuance, right?
Yeah.
Make a motion that we continue the public hearing for Paul Macharia, 75 Old Farm Road, map 237, lot 25, DEP number 143-1094, till April 1st.
Second that?
We have a motion to continue the public hearing on 175 Old Farm Road. And we have a second. Have a vote, please.
Mark Bonjam, aye.
Jim Four and I.
Mike Greco, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Okay. Now, I believe, no mail. Minutes. Looking at the minutes. September 18th minutes of the first.
September 18 and October 2, which were distributed via email, and also in tonight's packet.
I think this is the first time we've seen it, right?
They were distributed by, well, in physical form, yes, but they were distributed by email.
So I didn't print mine out so I could read them. Could I, can I make a motion to do it for next meeting?
Both of them?
Sure.
Yep.
Do whatever you
We
want.
got a motion to,
He wants to,
let's continue next meeting.
Yeah.
Because he didn't print them out.
Next meeting,
So
okay.
you guys will take the meetings with you.
please,
Yeah,
And read
I
it.
have them right
please
here.
take him with you.
Make whatever edits you want, so we can move along. All right, next meeting, we'll take care of them. We got a motion, we got a second on it
I don't think we need a motion, do we?
to continue it, do we?
I think it would be a good idea to do it.
Oh.
Doesn't hurt.
Second.
Have a motion and seconded to do the minute reading at the next meeting, April 1st. All in favor?
Mark Mangum,
Jim Farr, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Hold the phone. One last vote.
Yeah, and what's that?
Conservation signatures.
Oh, yes.
Yep. So the very first item agenda is usually the signatures to be made, whether it's paying bills or, the miscellaneous stuff. And I thought that the chair had the ability to unilaterally sign, and I was very quickly told no the very next day. So I received the brunt of that, but that's okay. But what I was told was, this is completely at your discretion. You can give the chair, and you can give the specific chair, even if it's for a certain amount of time, however you want to do it, the ability to unilaterally sign for bills and miscellaneous stuff, because there's always a sign-off sheet to sign at the beginning of every meeting. So either you all sign off on it every meeting, or you just give the chair the ability to sign off. However you want to do it. If you're not comfortable with it, then don't make a motion, but if you're comfortable with it, make a motion.
Okay, so I think that's been,
Everybody sign off.
yes.
Hi, I just want to make sure that my complaint about 69 Woodland is logged by the commission. They are filling the entire site instead of backfilling it. They're importing sand, and it's solid sand. They're filling up the entire site with sand. They're driving over the area where the leach field is going, and it is right on my property line. It's a mess. Every time it rains, it's a hole. So it's raining and it's a mud puddle.
We have a formal complaint form?
We've received, emails about this,
Yeah,
right?
I sent pictures.
Yeah, the complaint's been duly noted.
Okay.
Yeah. 69 Woodland Road, and what do we got here? I've got so much information on this.
Do you have a filing for that?
Oh, yeah, we do. In fact, there was an amendment made last fall, back in November.
Yep, they gave me like 2 days' notice over a holiday weekend.
Right, and the commission approved the amendment, and there's a lot of fill being
And
proposed,
they-
and
yeah.
it was approved.
They, oh no, they actually started construction on that, and they were.
Okay, we got,
They had
we
formed
stop, we stop a minute? We can't get into a discussion on this unless it's on an agenda, on this lot.
Correct.
Okay.
So
I can-
it would
I
have,
can
it would
log-
have to go
I
on
can
the
log a
agenda for
complaint,
it.
Yes, you
But
can.
anyway,
We just have to put it on our
oh,
agenda so everyone's notified properly.
okay, excellent.
You can ask Jen Kuchar to put on the April 1st agenda if you'd like.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, motion to close the public hearing?
I'll second it.
You don't want to
Mark
close?
Mangum.
No, adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
I'll close it.
Mark Mangum, aye.
Jim Farr, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
So just to be clear, the motion was to adjourn?
To adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
I'll close it.
No, it has to be adjourned.
Adjourned.
Yep.
You want to slap?
Second.
Okay, we're done.